This is part 2 of my trip to Chicago. If you are wanting to see the whole sightseeing portion, where I go through tons of beautiful photos of architecture and touring around Chicago, you can check out part 1. So I'm going to skip on to part 2 here, and this was my experience of going to the Perry Marshall Conference in Rolling Meadows, which is just outside of Chicago. So when I arrived there, turns out there was actually a surprise bonus session on the Thursday night, and it was with John Paul Mendoza. And if you followed any Perry Marshall stuff, you'll know that John Paul is a really well-known figure within the Perry Marshall family because of his wild past. He was a Vegas gambler and a card counter, and he had many run-ins with like people from the mob and guns and women and drugs and everything. Just a very, very colorful past. That's now part of his past. He's now a sales guy, and he focuses on helping people to learn how to do sales effectively. So he's doing a session on sales and teaching everyone, answering questions that they had about how to close more deals. So that was the Thursday night. Friday morning, 8 a.m., officially the seminar started. So here's Perry on stage doing his thing, and it was really cool to be in the same room as him and a lot of the other marketing professionals that were there. This is Ryan Masters of SqueezeJuiceMarketing.com, and he was actually my roommate for the weekend. I had put on Perry's forum that I was going to be going to the to this Rainmaker Alchemist weekend, as Perry calls it, and I offered to anybody on the forum who's also going to join me, and we could split a room. So Ryan Masters, he replied, and it turns out we're basically the same age. We're both into fitness. We're both into marketing, and we just had an amazing time together. Super smart guy, super nice guy. He's from Virginia. We had a great time. This is a bit of a funny story. So about a year ago, I purchased a DVD. The guys in my marketing mastermind and we purchased a DVD of, it's a training program on how to write copy. And it was the John Carlton Simple Writing System. And it was a recording of John Carlton doing a weekend-long seminar in San Francisco. And so you see the people in the crowd asking questions, and then he answers, and he presents his material on how to do good copywriting. And there was a few people in the crowd from the video recording that you kind of got to know because they asked a number of questions. And so this guy here, he's actually one of the people from the crowd. And so when I saw him in Chicago at this Perry Marshall event, I thought, oh my goodness, I have to get a picture with this guy to show the guys back in Edmonton that I ran into this guy that we'd seen in a completely different training program. So the awkward part came when I introduced myself, because I was like, hello sir, you don't know me, I don't really know you, but were you at a John Carlton event? And you can see how tall he is, right? So he's looking down at me and he's like, well, yes I was. And I'm like, oh, okay. Did you know that was video recorded? Yeah, well, yes I did. I knew that it was recorded. Oh, okay. Well, this may sound weird, but I saw you in that recording, and it's really kind of strange and cool all at the same time to be with you in person now here in Chicago. Oh, well, that's all right. That's pretty cool. Okay, so I don't know if this is a bit of a weird question, but can I get a picture with you? The guys back in my seat are never going to believe that I ran into you at this conference. So anyways, he was really cool about it, and he played along, and we got the picture together. So then Perry continued, had more really good information about building teams and making sure to really focus on my skills, on my strengths, and not try to work on my weaknesses. It's tempting to work on my weaknesses, but the best I'll ever get at them is average. Whereas if I partner with people or hire people to take care of my weaknesses to make up for them, then I can really focus on my strengths and go from being really, pretty good to being really good in those areas. This is another person in the crowd. About 10 or 12 years ago, someone showed me a book called Unlock the Game by Ari Galper. And since then, Ari Galper has gone on to being quite an internationally renowned speaker and trainer when it comes to sales. So he's really big. His book is called Unlock the Game. And what he teaches is permission-based sales. So people don't feel pressured to buy your stuff, but you can still sell a lot. And so I was sitting in the crowd, and Perry did this thing. He said, okay, let's see who came the furthest to this weekend seminar. And so he said, who's here more than 1,000 miles away? So I stood up, coming all the way from Canada in the west. And then he says 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 miles, and people are slowly sitting down. And then we're left with a few Aussies. And So Perry says, "Oh, Ari, I think you might be the winner of the furthest distance traveled." And I turn around and I'm looking, and it's like the Ari Gulper. And he's just another guy in the crowd just like me. And so I thought, like, holy smokes, this must be a pretty kick-ass seminar if people like Ari are in the crowd. Normally he's a guy who's like, on stage, and he's like the keynote. So yeah, that was really, really interesting. I also, actually, before I go on, one of the things that we did for this seminar was called the Marketing DNA Test that Perry put together. And it divided us up into our different personality types. So there's 4 main personality types that he identified. I was found to be a chameleon. So what that is a person who's able to adapt to different situations. And I'm also somebody who is able to coordinate and understand and empathize with different people of the different personality types. And so when I was, the morning of the Friday morning when it was like one of our first sessions, we actually broke out into 4 different rooms. All the chameleons were together, all of the alchemists were together, all the planners were together, and then I don't remember the 4th personality, but we were all separated. And my session was led by Jack Bourne, and he's a guy from Perry's organization, really smart guy. You'll see a picture of him in a few minutes. And the people that were in the in the session with me, there were some huge heavy hitters in the room. One guy is Brad Geddes, and Brad is considered like one of the world's best pay-per-click marketers. Once you've read Perry Marshall's Definitive Guide to Google AdWords, and you've taken his AdWords Bootcamp, and you might have even taken his Advanced Strategies, when you're ready to go beyond that, you go and you read Brad Geddes' book called Advanced Google AdWords. And he was in the room, and he was just kind of participating just like anyone else, and he gave me some feedback. I got to do a hot seat, which is super cool. So he gave me some feedback. Another superstar is from the UK is David Rothwell. He gave me some feedback. And I didn't know who they were because it was the beginning, but you slowly figure out who everyone is in the crowd, and it was just like, wow, this is a star-studded audience. So at any rate, just amazing who I ran into there. This is Brian Todd. Brian Todd is the president of Perry S. Marshall & Associates. He's kind of a really quiet guy from Lincoln, Nebraska, and so he speaks, he's got a deep voice, and he speaks, fairly slow and deliberate. And then on the last day, he broke into this unbelievable impersonation of Mike Myers. Mike Myers with his Scottish accent as the dad in So I Married an Axe Murderer, the 1990s movie. And I almost died laughing. And I did not expect it coming from this guy who's kind of this, shorter, kind of quiet, reserved Nebraskan. And all of a sudden he busts out this ridiculous Scottish Mike Myers accent. It was absolutely awesome. More sessions and Perry speaking again. At this point, we're probably on Saturday or Sunday or something like that. This is John Paul Mendoza, the Vegas gambler. It was kind of cool to meet him in person, shake his hand, and he's got some wild stories, so it was kind of interesting to meet the man. And then this is Jack Bourne. He is a very, very talented marketer, and he also is the affiliate manager for Perry S. Marshalls and Associates. So he's got an important role there, and he also had some amazing feedback for me for my own business when I was doing my hot seat in the Chameleon Room. So it was really cool to spend some time with him. This up here is Perry was doing a bit of a panel, so that's Brian Todd again. There's Perry there, and then this guy here, this is John, and he is the the Infusionsoft / email marketing manager for Perry. And why that is significant is Perry will tell you right away that what's made him the internationally renowned star that he is not because of Google AdWords, believe it or not. I mean, yes, that's what he's known for, but what's built his business more than anything is his email marketing and his follow-up sequences, his Infusionsoft account. And John here is the guy who has done a lot of that kind of work for Perry. So interesting to meet the role players behind the scene of the machine that is Perry S. Marshall and Associates. Another guy in the crowd that I spent actually a good amount of time with. We actually went to dinner one night to Weber Grill. This is Kevin Milani, and why he's a rising star is he oversees all the pay-per-click marketing for all the Google AdWords for CatholicMatch.com, which is a dating website for Catholics. And he is in a much smaller niche compared to huge websites like eHarmony and Match.com. Yet Kevin with Catholic Match is he's crushing eHarmony and Match.com. When you look at this behind the scenes stats, which you can inside an AdWords account, and using different analytics and tools, you can see that he actually outperforms eHarmony and Match.com like 2-1. It's absolutely amazing. The guy's just an absolute wizard when it comes to AdWords. So I got to meet him, and again, he's just another guy in the crowd at the Perry Marshall event, and we chatted and had dinner, and yeah, we actually laughed quite a lot. He's actually a really funny guy. We had a good time together. So this is, I mentioned David Rothwell earlier. When Perry's looking for expert opinions on AdWords, or he's got a problem he can't solve, he goes to people like David Rothwell, this guy you see here. He's from the UK, and at the end of the whole seminar, I stuck around kind of a day later just to hang out and have meetings with whoever wanted to have meetings. And yeah, so it turns out I was on the shuttle from the hotel back to O'Hare at the end of the whole thing, and who's on the shuttle but David Rothwell. So we ended up sitting down and chatting for about 25 minutes and just laughed and had a great time. He said, anytime you got any questions, just send me an email. I'll be sure to get back to you. And just a super, super nice guy. So yeah, amazing opportunity to meet people like that. And of course, last but not, and certainly but not least, a picture with the man himself, Mr. Perry S. Marshall. About a year and a half ago, my good friend Mark Holloway-Chuck, who's got a very successful website, vitamart.ca, I called him up one day and I just said, hey, how do you get people to your website? And he said, well, as far as getting new people to my website, I do it through Google AdWords. And I said, oh, okay, that's interesting. So how did you learn that? And he said, oh, I read this book called The Definitive Guide to Google AdWords by Perry Marshall. And I said, okay, do you have a copy of that, or should I buy a copy, or what's the deal? And Mark said, oh, here's my login information for my Perry Marshall, user ID on his website, and just go in there and download it. And I mean, that's totally illegal, and since then I've actually told Perry exactly that I basically stole his ebook to begin with, and he kind of laughed about it, and he said he wasn't he doesn't want to encourage that, but seeing as I've now gone on to take many of his programs, he thought, okay, he's willing to give up the $97 for me to come to this seminar, which is like $2,500, and the bobsled run last year, which is $3,500. So it's worked out for Perry in my situation, so he was okay with it. But yeah, so kind of going back to a year and a half ago, Mark gives me his code or his user ID, and I go in, I download the book, but I happen to also download some bonus audio that was in there, and Perry just had such a fascinating, had some fascinating marketing concepts that really caught my eye. So I started checking out more of Perry's website, and I checked out his some of his other programs, and I thought, oh my goodness, I really want to take his bobsled run. So I went back to Mark and I said, Mark, have you been listening to these other audio tracks in the bonus area? And he's like, no, but we started talking about it, and Mark listened to them. He said, oh my goodness, let's do this bobsled run. So 1 year ago, so fall 2011, I took the bobsled run. Mark took it too. So did our friend Vic, and so did our friend Peter. So the four of us took the bobsled run. And that 3-month program, October, November, December 2011, what I learned there seriously catapulted my marketing mind and abilities to a whole new level. It was so important, so pivotal to take me to the next level. And the entire last year, I've had more clients, been making more money in my business, and the bobsled run was a huge, huge part of taking me to that next level. Really set the stage for me to be doing the things I am now. If it weren't for the bobsled run, I probably wouldn't be working on this huge luxury condo project, and I wouldn't be working with 7 or 8 different clients right now. So yeah, I really felt grateful towards Perry, and to shake his hand, and we spent about 15-20 minutes chatting just one-on-one at the conference, and I got his advice on a couple things, and we just spent some nice quality time together. Very humble, very grounded, our time together, and just really connected. It was really, really nice. And so here I am a year, at the conference, it's 1 year after the bobsled run, and this weekend was so powerful. I mean, you've seen in this video the kind of people that I met. Jack Bourne did an amazing webinar talk on webinars. Perry did a great talk on partnerships. They talked about acquiring businesses and using your marketing skills to be able to acquire more businesses, and just really expanded my context. They talked about systemizing your business and gave some specific resources to go and do that. Hiring more team members. The people, the content, the overall experience was absolutely world class. And I wouldn't be surprised if this time next year, I'm going to look back and say that this weekend was really pivotal for me to go to yet the next level. I'm really excited about what is going to happen having now attended this seminar. So that was my experience of the Perry Marshall Rainmaker Alchemist weekend, September 2012, just outside Chicago, Illinois, USA. Thanks for watching this video, and time will tell just what an impact this weekend will have on the path of Tim Francis and Tim Francis Marketing. Thank you very much.